Hello, my fellow minor league nerds, and welcome to our newest franchise history episode, which is also our 75th release. This episode covers the Danville Leafs, who played in the Carolina League from 1945 to 1958. The Leafs were not a team we had planned on covering anytime soon, but after I woke up back-to-back mornings a few weeks ago thinking about them, I figured it was my brain's way of telling me that we needed to cover them. The first professional team to call Danville, Virginia home were the Danville Tobacconists of the Virginia, North Carolina League in 1905. The four-team league, which began play on May 11th, would disband on August 19th when one of the teams dropped out of the league. The Tobacconists were in first place with a 48-27 record at the time of the shutdown. The Danville Red Sox played in the Virginia League from 1906 through June 15, 1912, when they disbanded. They won the league pennant in 1910. For the 1911 season, they were known as the Danville Bugs. A second tobacconist team would play in the Piedmont League from 1920 to 1924, winning the league pennant in 1923 when they swept the Greensboro Patriots in 4 games. On June 17, 1925, Danville actually received a new franchise when the High Point furniture makers of the Piedmont League relocated to the city after the team's owners ran out of money to pay their players. The Leafs, as they were named in reference to the famous tobacco leaf markets in Danville, won their first 2 games in Greensboro on the 18th before playing their first game at home on the 19th, a 3-2 victory over the Salisbury Spencer Colonials. The team would finish in 4th place in the 6-team league with a 58-67 record. They actually returned in 1926 only to relocate to High Point to become the furniture makers on May 12th, playing their first game in High Point 2 days later. This left Danville without a professional team for the next 7 years. In 1934, the Bi-State League was formed with teams representing towns along both sides of the North Carolina-Virginia border. Danville was one of those towns. They would play in the entire existence of the league, which lasted through the 1942 season, winning 2 league pennants in 1934 and 1939 and 3 league playoff championships in 1934, 1935, and 1939. Modern sources list them as having played as the Danville Schoolfield Leafs for the last 4 seasons of their existence, but our research shows that the team was known by that name in local newspapers as early as that first season, with the Danville Historical Society showing evidence that they played under the joint name as early as 1935. If you're curious as to why they used the joint name, Schoolfield was a village that was annexed into Danville in 1951. The joint name was meant to recognize the multiple mill baseball teams that existed in the early 1900s in Schoolfield, which was a mill town. Like many other minor leagues, the Bi-State League shut down due to the U.S. involvement in World War II. On October 29, 1944, the Carolina League was organized to begin play in 1945, playing in parts of the same footprint as the Bi-State League. It was widely believed that World War II was winding down and would be over before opening day, April 26, 1945. The league organizers were obviously wrong, but they still went ahead with that first season. The league was organized as a Class C circuit, the only one in minor league ball that season. One of the 8 teams was placed in Danville, who once again played as the Danville Schoolfield Leafs, at least for the first few seasons. They were managed by Herb Brett, who skippered the Leafs for 4 seasons in the Bi-State League and were affiliated with the New York Giants. The players in the league that first season were not top quality, with many only being teenagers, but Brett was able to corral several good players for the Leafs. they won their first 2 games of the season over the Raleigh Capitals and then went on to win the next 8, starting 10-0, remaining in first place all season. At one point, the Leakesville-Draper-Spray triplets did manage to tie them for just one day. On May 12th, they scored 17 runs against Raleigh in 1 inning. At the beginning of July, they were 47-17, 7.5 games up on the Capitals. They pushed their lead to 11 games by the end of the month when they were 68-28. They would go on to win the league pennant with a 94-44 record, finishing 16 games up on the Capitals. The league, though, would hold a 4-team playoff to crown a league champion. In the first round, they faced off against the third-place Martinsville Athletics. Martinsville won 2 of the first 3 games, with Danville then winning the next 3 to take the series 4-2. Their ace was Art Fowler, who struck out 14 batters in Game 4, winning 4-0 on a 3-hitter. They would then face the Raleigh Capitals in the league championship series. The Leafs took Game 1 7-1, with Fowler again throwing a 3-hitter. The Caps would take Game 2. Danville won the next 3 games and the league championship 4-1. Fowler closed out the series in Game 5, throwing an 11-inning 5-hitter, with the Leafs winning 3-2. The team was just all-around dominant. Art Fowler had an outstanding season, finishing 23-6 with a 2.56 ERA, striking out 177 in 253 innings pitched. It was only his second professional season. He would later spend 9 seasons in the majors with 3 different National League teams. John Karenbauer would lead the league with 121 RBIs, while teammate Glenn Burtis finished second with 96. Burtis and teammate Jamie Alamendro led the league with 193 hits, while Karenbauer led with 45 doubles and Alamendro with 15 triples. Burtis led the league with a .366 batting average. Lewis King led the league with 65 stolen bases. As a team, the Leafs scored 998 runs, 131 more than the next best team, the Raleigh Capitals. The team's batting average was .286, 23 points higher than Raleigh. With World War II officially ending in September 1945, the league saw an influx of new players who helped to greatly improve the quality of play for the 1946 season. But it was not an improvement for the Leafs, who remained affiliated with the Giants. On May 1st, they were smashed by the Greensboro Patriots 22-5, seeing 4 Leafs pitchers walk 25 Patriots. They never left the second division that season, finishing in 7th place with a 60-82 record. 1947 was their last season being affiliated with the Giants, and was another downer when they finished in 6th place with a 65-77 record. 1948 would be an improvement over the last 2 seasons. They were aided by the signing of veteran minor leaguer Woody Fair, who played for Durham in 1946 and Winston-Salem for part of the 1947 season. He helped the Leafs catch up with a hot Winston-Salem in early May. On the first day of the month, he hit a pair of homers and a grand slam while driving in 7 runs in an 18-5 thrashing of Raleigh. By the middle of June, he helped propel them to first place. On July 3rd, he took over as player-manager from Bob Lashaw. He was supported by the eventual Rookie of the Year, Russell Sullivan, who hit .335 with a league-leading 35 home runs and 129 RBIs, as well as outfielder Gene Petty and pitchers Melvin Adams and Pete Angell, who all gave Danville the look of a winner by the middle of the season. 5 days after taking over as manager, Fair injured his leg, missing the rest of the season. He also gave up his managerial position, looking to focus on his recovery. He finished the season with a .336 average, 29 home runs, and 110 RBIs in 96 games played. Herb Brett took over as manager for the rest of the season. The Leafs struggled without him in the lineup, finishing in 4th place, 6.5 games out of first, with a 77-64 record, which, though, was good enough for the last playoff spot. They were bounced from the postseason in 5 games by the eventual league champions, the Martinsville Athletics. 1949 would be their best season since 1945, with the Carolina League moving up to a Class B designation. The Leafs dominated most of the season. Woody Fair was back again as player-manager and was healthy all season, hitting .325 with 38 home runs and 117 RBIs in 134 games. Outfielder William Brown led the league with a .361 batting average and 119 hits, finishing second with 45 doubles, while catcher Hugh Taylor hit .313. Their first-rate pitching staff was led by Adam Twarkins, who finished 22-9 with a 2.07 ERA. Pete Engel, who went 20-9, and Fred Giuliani, who finished 16-6. They won 15 of their first 21 games, taking over first place for good in mid-May. William Brown sparked the team with a 23-game hitting streak that ended on May 21st. In June, they went 20-11, opening up an 8.5-game lead, but stumbled late in the season due to overconfidence. A cocky Fair at one point declared that the Carolina League consisted of Danville and 7 second division clubs. As you can imagine, this did not go over well. In the last few weeks of the season, it looked as if Fair may have to eat his words. The Winston-Salem Cardinals were surging, taking a doubleheader from Martinsville on September 2nd, while Danville lost to Reedsville, reducing their lead to 4 games. On September 5th, still with a 4-game lead, the Leafs traveled to the Cardinals' Southside Park for a 3-game series, with a doubleheader taking place that first night. An overflow crowd of 8,147 jammed into the stadium. So large was the crowd that it spilled onto the edge of the playing field. The ground rules set by the umpires before the game started said that any ball hit into the overflow crowd, no matter if it was caught or not, would be considered a ground rule double. In the 6th inning of Game 1, Winston-Salem had a runner on first with Danville leading 1-0. Starter Pete Engel was on the mound. Al Neal of Winston-Salem hit a fly ball into the crowd that was caught by right fielder Al Clark. The umpires went against their own pre-game ground rules and called Neal out, leading to an explosive argument from the Cardinals. The umps refused to change the call, and Danville went on to win 2-0, bumping their lead up to 5 games. In the nightcap, it looked as if Danville would ride the momentum of Game 1 to another victory. In the bottom of the 9th, they were up 8-3, when incredibly Winston-Salem rallied to score 6 runs, winning the game 9-8, with the winning run being scored when outfielder William Long stole home. Despite the amazing come-from-behind win, the Cardinals still trailed by 4 games with only 6 left to play. Danville won the 3rd game of the series, clinching the pennant, finishing with an 86-57 record, 3 games up on Winston-Salem. Going into the postseason, the Leafs, along with the Cardinals, were the clear favorites. Neither team, though, would make it to the championship series as they both fell in the first round, with the Raleigh Capitals sweeping Winston-Salem in 4 and the Leafs falling in 6 to the eventual league champions, the Burlington Bees, who finished with a sub-500 record. Danville had a great regular season in 1950, finishing with the second-best record of their existence. They were managed by former Major League player Ben Chapman, who is best remembered for antagonizing Jackie Robinson during his rookie season, pelting him with racist epitaphs and being opposed to his mere presence on a Major League team. He led the Leafs to an 87-66 record, which was only good enough for second place as the Winston-Salem Cardinals ran away with the pennant, finishing 106-47, 19 games up on Danville. The 1945 Leafs were the only pennant-winning team to also win the playoff championship. The Cardinals became the second team to do so, taking down the Reedsville Luckies 3-2 in the first round, then defeating the Burlington Bees, who dropped Danville in 4 in the first round, 4-1. The following season of 1951 was not a good one for Danville, seeing them finish in 6th place with a 66-73 record. The biggest event of their season came on August 10th when Percy Miller Jr. became the first black player to play in the Carolina League. The 20-year-old Miller was a local product, having been a star baseball, football, and basketball player while in high school. His father was a pitcher who spent 13 seasons playing for 11 different Negro League teams. During his summers in high school, he played for the Jacksonville All-Stars team in Florida. The summer after his graduation, he was playing for a local black team called the Danville All-Stars when Leaf officials decided to add him to their roster. His signing came about after a concerted effort by Danville's black community. League president Ted Mann gave cautious approval, saying, "There's nothing in the league constitution to prevent any club from signing a colored player. As far as I'm concerned, it's perfectly legal." Danville's manager, Ace Parker, was more upbeat, saying, "I think it's all right to play Negroes." Miller's teammates were circumspect, with many giving no comment to press queries concerning his signing. Papers that covered the league reported his signing matter-of-factly, while the league's fans appeared to take a wait-and-see approach. In his first game, he hit a 2-run single in the Leafs' 5-4 win over Durham. Though he only ended up playing 19 games in Danville, hitting .184, he helped transform the Carolina League. He was released in February 1952 for not being polished enough for Class B ball and returned to the Danville Stars. For the 1952 season, from what we could tell, their first playing as just the Danville Leafs, they teamed up with the Washington Senators of the American League. Danville, Greensboro, Raleigh, and Reedsville took turn in first place for almost the first 2 months of the season, but the Leafs were unable to keep their momentum, eventually falling out of the postseason contention, finishing in 6th place with a 65-74 record. One on-field highlight for Danville came on June 26th when they ended Ben Rossman's scoreless streak. Before allowing 1 run that game, the Raleigh Capitals starter had thrown 38 1/3 scoreless innings. Starting in 1953, Danville teamed back up with the New York Giants, remaining with them for the rest of their existence. They would wear Giants home uniforms for home games and road uniforms that said Danville across the chest for games out of town. Their caps had a letter D on it, and they were sometimes called the Little Giants in the local press. The Giants were one of the first organizations to sign black players. By 1953, they had already fielded lineups which included Monty Irving, Hank Thompson, and Willie Mays. Over the next 6 years, the length of time the two teams were connected, the Giants would funnel some of the finest black talent in baseball through Danville. One of the best prospects this season was 19-year-old Bill White. Danville spent most of the season chasing Burlington and Raleigh for first place. Come August, though, Burlington had dropped back, with it turning into a 2-team race between Danville and Raleigh. The Leafs caught the Capitals on August 20th, but quickly fell back. They were led by a number of great prospects, including the already mentioned Bill White, who hit .298 with 20 home runs and 84 RBIs, Bob Caldwell, who knocked in 104, and John Heffenecker, who batted .303. The star of the team, though, was Venezuelan-born pitcher Ramon Manzant, who finished 23-6 with a 2.73 ERA and 232 strikeouts on his way to winning the league MVP. At the beginning of September, Raleigh and Danville faced off in a crucial 4-game series that consisted of back-to-back doubleheaders, with the Caps leading the Leafs by 4.5 games. Danville swept the first doubleheader, cutting the lead to 2.5. Bill White went 4 for 5 in the second game, hitting 2 home runs and driving in and scoring 5. Raleigh took the first game of the second doubleheader 9-3 thanks to their ace Ben Rossman being on the mound, notching his 20th victory of the season. Danville took the second game, keeping Raleigh's lead to 2.5 games. The Leafs would go on to lose their last 5 games of the season, while Raleigh lost 7 of their last 10, but managed to back into the league pennant. The Leafs finished in second place, 3 games back, with a 79-59 record. In the playoffs, Danville first faced off against the Burlington Graham Pirates, winning the series 3-1. They won Game 2 14-1, with pitcher Lloyd Lundin supporting himself with 4 hits, 4 runs scored, and 4 RBIs. In the championship series, they faced off against the 4th place Reedsville Luckies, who upset Raleigh in 5. Danville took the opener 1-0 thanks to a strong performance from Monzant, with the Luckies tying the series up with a victory in Game 2. In Game 3, Danville held a 5-3 lead going into the 9th. In the top of the inning, Lucky's player-manager Ralph Hodgkin hit a 3-run homer, giving his team a 6-5 lead. In the bottom of the inning, his Danville counterpart, Andy Gilbert, tied the game before Chuck Allen hit a homer, giving Danville a 7-6 victory and a 2-1 lead. The Luckies took Game 4 to tie the series up at 2. Danville went on to win the next 2 games and the series to capture their first Carolina League championship since 1945. They won Game 5 3-2 on back-to-back doubles by catcher George Leffelar and center fielder John Heffenecker in the bottom of the 9th. Game 6 ended 10-4 with the Leafs collecting 14 hits. This championship showed the rest of the Carolina League the strength of the farm system. 1954 wasn't too exciting of a season for the Leafs, seeing them miss the postseason by half a game. Entering the last week of the season, they held a 3.5 game lead over the Durham Bulls for the last playoff spot. The Bulls, though, would win their last 7 games, with the Leafs being unable to keep up. The Fayetteville Highlanders would go on to win the league pennant and championship. 1955 was an improvement for Danville. For the first time ever, all 8 teams in the league were affiliated with major league clubs. Going into June, it was a 6-team race for first place, with only 2.5 games separating the teams. On June 28th, Leafs pitcher John Fitzgerald struck out 19 Winston-Salem Twins. Attendance had become a worry for more than half of the teams in the league, with the Fayetteville Highlanders contemplating dropping out at one point. It wasn't an issue for Danville, as they led the league in attendance for the season. At the start of the last 2 weeks of the season, the High Point Thomasville High Toms were in first place, with the Highlanders in second and the Leafs in third. The Highlanders would completely collapse during those 2 weeks, with the Leafs taking over second, finishing with a 73-64 record, 6.5 games out of first. In the first round, Danville would lose Game 1 to Fayetteville, but win the next 4 in a row to once again advance to the League Championship Series to face off against the High Toms, who downed Durham in 7. That 7-game series against the Bulls took a lot out of the High Toms, especially their pitching staff. Danville won Game 1 5-3 after Joseph Moran and Bob Schmidt hit back-to-back home runs in the top of the 8th. The High Toms tied the series by winning the second game 11-4, with Danville once again taking the series lead by winning Game 3 8-7 in 12 innings on a squeeze play. The Leafs extended the series lead to 3-1 by winning Game 4 1-0 behind a strong pitching performance from John Fitzgerald. The High Toms took Game 5 before the Leafs won their second championship in 3 seasons with a 3-1 victory in Game 6. Leafs pitcher Larry DeVita pitched a 3-hitter and had a 2-run single in the game. With all teams in the league being affiliated that season, it was the most balanced in the league's 11 seasons. Only 20 games separated the first place High Toms from the last place Burlington Graham Pirates, with there being no genuinely bad teams. 1956 would be another excellent season in Danville, as several future major leaguers would play for the Leafs, including Jose Pagan, Tony Taylor, Leon Wagner, and Willie McCovey. They would help keep the team near the top of the standings all season, with them finishing in third place with an 83-69 record, 7 games behind the pennant-winning High Point Thomasville High Toms. In the first round of the playoffs, the Leafs would be led by Willie McCovey and Leon Wagner to a 4-game series victory over the Durham Bulls. In the first game, McCovey hit a 3-run homer, while pitcher Al Pinky Wilson threw a 3-hitter to win 5-0. Durham took Game 2, but fell in Game 3 8-3, seeing Wagner drive in 6. In the fourth game, McCovey hit 2 solo homers, with Wagner knocking out 1 in the Leafs' 5-4 win to clinch the series. Danville would square off against the Fayetteville Highlanders in the championship series after they knocked out the pennant winners in 4. Danville took Game 1 after Jack Lewis hit 2 homers, leading them to a 6-5 victory. Fayetteville won the second game to even the series, despite Willie McCovey hitting 2 home runs. The Highlanders took Game 3 after pitcher Ted Fowler threw a 4-hitter against the Leafs. Danville evened the series, taking Game 4 11-7, scoring 8 runs in the last 3 innings. Leon Wagner hit a grand slam in the 5-run inning 8th. Game 5 was rather exciting. Danville took a 7-3 lead into the bottom of the 8th, seeing Fayetteville send 13 men to the plate, scoring 7 runs to take a 10-7 lead. In the top of the 9th, McCovey and Wagner each hit solo home runs, but it wasn't enough as the Leafs fell 10-9. Fayetteville took the championship with an 11-1 blowout in Game 6, scoring 8 runs in the first inning. Danville starter Vic Davis walked 3, hit another, and threw a wild pitch, all in that first inning. Before the start of the 1957 season, the defending champion Fayetteville Highlanders and the Wilson Tobs both dropped out of the league, with there being no replacement franchises. Because of this, the league decided to adopt a split-season format for the first time. The city of Wilson would regain a team when the Kinston Eagles relocated there early in the season, becoming the Wilson Tobs. It wasn't a good season for the Leafs. They had good hitting, including outfielder Robert Perry, who hit .312 with 30 homers and 90 RBIs, and first baseman Inocencio Rodriguez, who hit .289 with 35 homers and 114 RBIs, as well as Sal Ferreira, who hit .307. Alan Miley hit .338, had 14 homers and 47 RBIs through 78 games before being promoted to the Springfield Giants of the Eastern League. He was leading the league in hitting at the time of his promotion. The team's pitching, though, was very mediocre, with only 2 pitchers, Reggie Lee and William DeJesus, finishing with winning records. They finished the first half in 5th place with a 28-39 record, and finished in 4th place with a 35-38 record in the second half for an overall record of 63-77. In the championship series, the first half winners, the Durham Bulls, defeated the second half winners, the High Point Thomasville High Toms, in 7. 1958 was a pretty good season for the Leafs. They were in first place of the now 8-team league for all of May, slipping into second come June. The league had placed new teams in Raleigh and Burlington before the start of the season. The Leafs would flip-flop first and second for the rest of the month with the High Point Thomasville High Toms. By the middle of July, they had slipped to 4th place. Things picked up in August when they went on a 13-game winning streak, passing Greensboro and High Point Thomasville to take over 1st place. They went 24-8 that month, finishing 4 games up on the High Toms and 5 games up on Greensboro, ending the season with an 80-59 record. Robin Kaufman, Alan Miley, and Manny Mota gave the Leafs a trio of 300 hitters, while Don Hyman and Andy Yetzko combined for 34 victories. Unfortunately, they couldn't keep it going in the playoffs. After taking Game 1 from the Alamance Indians, the name used by the Burlington franchise, they lost the next 2 games 4-2 and 7-2. After the season, the Danville Leafs, along with the High Point Thomasville High Toms, would fold. Neither team was able to maintain its Major League affiliation, something that was now needed to remain competitive in the Carolina League. Their Major League affiliate, the New York Giants, relocated to San Francisco, moving their Class B affiliation to the Eugene Emeralds of the Northwest League. With the departure of Danville, the 5th charter franchise to fold, the Carolina League became an all-North Carolina circuit. In their 14 seasons in the Carolina League, the Danville Leafs won 3 league pennants and 3 league championships. The city of Danville would not see another professional team until 1993, when the Atlanta Braves brought their Appalachian League team, the Pulaski Braves, to town, renaming them the Danville Braves. After the MLB takeover of MILB in 2020, the franchise evolved into the Danville Otterbots. Danville would actually host another Carolina League team in 1998. After Durham was awarded a AAA International League franchise that took the Durham Bulls name, the Carolina League Durham Bulls would need to relocate, choosing Myrtle Beach, where they became the Pelicans. The only problem was their new ballpark wouldn't be ready until the start of the 1999 season, meaning they needed to find a place to play in 1998. They chose to play in Danville as the Danville 97s, finishing last in the South Division with a 58-82 record. Well, my fellow minor league nerds, that does it for this episode. We do hope you enjoyed it and that my brain was correct saying that it needed to be made. If you haven't done so already, be sure to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel or the podcast platform of your choice to be notified whenever a new episode is released. And until next time, stay safe and be sure to never stop supporting minor league baseball and never stop learning about minor league baseball history.
This podcast is part of the Curved Brim Media Network. Here are some of the other members of Curved Brim Media.
Hi, this is Ed Rivera of the Data Chronicles. Join me as I interview people just like you and players, coaches, GMs on the path that led you to become a fan of the sport.
I'm Paul Caputo, and on the Baseball by Design podcast, I talk to minor league baseball teams, designers, and other super interesting people about what these minor league baseball logos mean, and I talk a little bit about ice cream helmets.
What's up, Bucketheads? I'm Anna DiTomaso, and each week on the Baseball Bucket List podcast, I speak with a different fan about their favorite baseball memories, what the game means to them, and what's left to check off on their baseball bucket list.
Hey everyone, it's Eric from the great state of Kansas.
This is Johnny from the New Orleans Baby Cakes Memorial Museum.
And we are the Earn Fun Average podcast,
where we talk to a variety of guests about their love of baseball and have fun doing it.
America, lower your standards.
Average is what we do best.
This is Patrick
and Corey
of BaseballMapper.com, and we have made an interactive map to help highlight all baseball teams from the majors down to collegiate summer leagues.
We want to bring you closer to baseball, so get on the site and find a team near you today.
Hey guys, this is Patrick Larson from the Minor League Baseball Hat History Series, and in every episode I go through the history of minor league teams through my personal collection of hats. You can find me on Twitter at PatLarson1. I hope you guys enjoy.
Learn more about Curved Brim Media at curvedbrimmedia.com.